start Cleveland's preseason opener against the Bears in Chicago on Saturday, marking his first game action since tearing his right Achilles in October of 2024. Shedeur Sanders will get the start in the Browns' second preseason game against the Bills on August 22nd. Monken informed both quarterbacks of the plan after practice yesterday. So, CC, are the Browns making the right decision by starting Watson in game number 1?
Yes, they're making the right decision. Now, I don't think that Deshaun Watson should be the starting quarterback in week 1 of the regular season. I do believe that should be Shedeur Sanders. Here's the thing. Todd Monken clued us in when he made this announcement that both Deshaun and Shedeur are going to have an opportunity to start preseason games this year. Shedeur is going to start week 2 of the preseason against the Buffalo Bills. Now, leading up to that game, there will be joint practices with the Bills. Who ends up taking the lion's share of the first team reps is going to clue us in on who has the inside track to being the week 1 starter. And what I will say is this: it would be odd for Shedeur Sanders to start the second preseason game against the Buffalo Bills if during the joint practices in the lead up, if he's working with the number 2 unit primarily. And so I think it's interesting to see what ends up happening in terms of who ends up taking the lion's share of those reps in those joint practices, because we know Shedeur is going to be the starter for the preseason game 2.
Also, wait, just one quick follow-up on this. If you believe that Shedeur should be the starter, and he's in his second year, this is not a rookie season.
With a new system.
Why not have him go right off the bat? What are they doing starting anyone else? That includes Dylan Gabriel.
Well, clearly we're not at a point where there's enough separation between either quarterback to name a full-time starter, right? Todd Monken told us back in the spring he wanted to have QB1 decided after OTAs and minicamp. He couldn't make a call then because neither quarterback had created enough separation. And so we're in this place right now where we're still trying to figure out who's going to be the guy. But the later this thing goes when it comes to the competition, the tie goes to the young guy, because Deshaun Watson isn't your future in Cleveland. At least Shedeur Sanders has the opportunity to be.
Wait, Steve, why do you disagree with that?
The tie is not going to your young guy. What's going on is something is not being said. So let me help you read between the tea leaves. You have a second-year quarterback who's learning a new system. You have your veteran quarterback, Deshaun Watson, who has been around a number of different offenses. The second-year guy, the second-year Shedeur, he's having, it sounds to me, my humble opinion, that he is having a little bit difficulty with the transition. And so you got to give the young guy a little bit more of the mental note, because they are running a John Harbaugh practice. You know that John Harbaugh. Yeah. Two different teams going at the exact same time. And so I've heard that sometimes Shedeur's, he's not running the same amount of plays because of he has to get the play in faster. He has to get guys lined up. So he's a little bit slower on that, which means Tom Monken say, hey, I'm not going to discredit him. I'm not going to be at a disadvantage, because training camp is about putting as much pressure on the guy and seeing how he handles it. And so they're doing that and not keeping that against Shedeur. Does that make sense?
I still struggle to understand how it benefits Cleveland long-term for Deshaun Watson to play more games this upcoming season than Shedeur. That's the part that doesn't make sense.
Well, Harry, you agree with Steve. Why?
Yeah, so number one, when you look at Todd Monken, I think we're losing sight of this. He's a first-year head coach. And recently, how many first-year head coaches have we had not keep the job in year 2? So if you have a neck-and-neck race, yes, I'm going to lean on the veteran quarterback that has been there and done it multiple times, although it's been a long time since he's done it.
And although he's had back-to-back season-ending injuries.
Yes, if I feel more comfortable, because I think that's also an indictment, not just on Deshaun Watson, but also an indictment on Shedeur. If you can't go take this job early on where your head coach can definitively say, hey, Shedeur Sanders, you're going to be our starting quarterback, then something behind the scenes, like Steve Smith said, isn't being said out loud. Todd Monken is in that locker room and on that football field every single day. He's an offensive-minded guy. So if he's telling you that Deshaun Watson is our starter, let's read between the tea leaves.
Yeah, there's going to be a real issue, like with any team, or any organization, if your whole goal is to keep your job versus doing your job. And if Todd Monken's goal is to keep his job, he's not going to be doing his job. There's controversy between Jayden Daniels' camp and LSU about if his college jersey number should be worn by another player. You don't want to miss what we have to say about this. Plus, Russell Westbrook retired yesterday. So where does Kendrick Perkins have him on his all-time point guard list? That answer may surprise you next.
With the Tennessee Titans, I've been seeing them flash everywhere. Hadn't got the opportunity to get down there, but everyone I've talked to down there, you just see all the different things. First wide receiver taken, arguably wasn't the best wide receiver, as they said, because of Jordan Tyson and some of his injuries and all that stuff. Well, Carnell Tate is showing that he is the guy. And it's going to be really interesting with Brian Daboll being the offensive coordinator, because he was offensive coordinator in Alabama where they had Calvin Ridley. And I thought Calvin Ridley was on his way out. But understanding who the offensive coordinator is, he needs a guy that can press the offense, get that fourth level, go ahead and run the defense. Not call him a decoy Leroy, but getting a guy that can clear it out and make himself available. And then you have Wan'Dale Robinson working underneath, and you have a young, fresh-legged Carnell Tate who also understands the why and the how. So I had Brian Hartline on my podcast, The 89 Show. He's talking about how young and smart he was able to be with Carnell Tate. And so just using all my information I have, man, this young man, I'm excited to see, can he do well and do well quickly.
Steve Smith Sr. up 1-0 on the free plugs. We all got to do better for ESPN Radio over here. CC, your guy, you're most intrigued.
So I'm going to take a different approach, a different spin. I'm most excited to see the Cincinnati Bengals, right? They're going to play most of their starters in this preseason game against the Detroit Lions and the Catfight in Cincinnati. And I want to see Joe Burrow, the sense of urgency this team has, and how they started out. Now, the starters probably aren't going to play long, but for Joe Burrow to come out earlier this offseason and say that this team reminds him of the 2019 LSU Tigers when they won the national championship, he's setting a really high bar to clear in Cincinnati. Now, they traded a top 10 pick for Dexter Lawrence, and so the defense presumably won't be the scapegoat for why the Cincinnati Bengals can't get to where they're going. So if I had to boil it down to one player, it'd probably be Dexter Lawrence going into year 2 of Al Golden's scheme with the Cincinnati Bengals. But overall, I want to see this Bengals team and how they come out tonight.
So are you saying that Dexter Lawrence that we know when he was with the Giants, where when he was in, he was great, but when he was out because of his conditioning, that teams run all over the field? Or are you talking about Dexter Lawrence that's going to be in on all four plays of the defense?
Yeah, I mean, Dexter Lawrence has to be a 3-down player for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Gotcha.
He's a foundational piece. Anytime you trade a top 10 pick for a veteran player who's angling for a new contract, that means you have conviction on what that player can be in that scheme, and there's clearly a need for it. So Cincinnati decided they're going to do that. Second half of last year under Al Golden, they got much better defensively. They only allowed one offense to have over 400 total yards of offense. So I do want to see what that defense is. 3 new starters along the defensive line. They drafted Cassius Howell in the second round, who they're very high on. I want to see what it all looks like tonight, because Joe Burrow's putting a lot on it.
So to your point, like I understand, Joe Burrow's Joe Burrow. We get the offense is going to be the offense in Cincinnati. That's what I want to see, how that defense is flying around in Cincinnati, setting the tone. And I get it, it's a preseason game. But there's something about having your DNA out there that people understand who you're going to be when the season rolls around. So I want to see guys hit, stick, talk, shut your mouth. That's what I want to see. I want to see those guys on that defensive line being physical at the point of attack, shedding blockers, going hitting people. I want to see those linebackers, because of that defensive line being different now, shooting those gaps. And then the secondary guys who don't have